All right, here we go. Welcome back to the show. I'm attorney James Betzold. I'm your guest and your host today. Now, today we've got a lot of fun. Like I said, we've got this double angle view, so you can see exactly the terrain I'm going over as we're talking about our friend Abel today. Abel is a code name. I can't reveal the original name because it's too hilarious and it's too good of a story to be using someone's real name. So, it's all a matter of public record, of course. The people that we represent, if they're a defendant in a criminal matter, that all becomes a public record. In immigration court, it's typically covered by FOIA, I think. Maybe it's not. No, it's not, because whenever we get attorney records back or case records back from a FOIA request, we see who the attorney was. So, anyway, it's all a matter of public record anyway, but out of sense of decency, we're just going to use an alias. So we shall call him Abel. Alright, so once upon a time, ooh boy, he had a number of cases with us. It's hard to know where exactly to start. I know. It started when he got picked up by ICE, actually. And I don't remember why he was originally picked up by ICE. Could have been anything. It may have been he got in a fight with his girlfriend or something, and an argument, and she hit him and then called the police. That's probably it. Anyway, so I head over to the Kent County Correctional Facility and meet with him in one of the tiny, uncomfortable rooms in what feels like a military prison. It's not, it's just a regular jail, and we start discussing his case. Had entered on a visa years ago, overstayed. I don't know, like I said, for some reason ended up getting picked up by ICE. And so now was facing removal. He did have the requisite 10 years of presence in the United States, so that was helpful, right? Because that means you can apply for something called cancellation of removal. And, of course, with cancellation of removal, the way it works as a practical matter in immigration court is you get a lot of time. If you're not detained, you get a lot of time to prepare your case. So, that's how our case started out. It's so great. Alright, so it's morning time. I don't know if you can tell. Got the sun coming through the trees on my face here. What a beautiful morning. Look at this. Just a nice view of this uphill road ahead of me here. On my fat bike. Taking these roads no problem. Just gotta keep my legs moving fast enough. Alright, so we start off his case. It's an immigration court deal. They transfer him down to Battle Creek, the immigration detention, and they begin his case. We put together a defense, right? We're going to get him out on bond. And sure enough, we get the proof together, show that he's not a danger to society, show that he is likely to return to court, he's not a flight risk, in other words, and that they can come up with an amount of bond that'll secure his presence at the future hearings. So we do that. We get that all going. He gets out on bond, and we proceed to prepare his application, which at some point gets filed with the court, and then at some point the judge is going to schedule an individual hearing on it. But while we're waiting, we hear of a series of unfortunate events. One of, let's see, what was the first one? Right. He's on probation for a prior offense, right? I don't know if it was a DUI or something like that, where nobody got hurt, but he still had to do probation for some reason or another. And So he's on his way to his probation appointment in Grand Rapids when he gets a phone call from the Grand Rapids Police Department. Hello, sir. So he gets a phone call from the Grand Rapids Police Department. One of their crack detectives is on the case. And they say, hello, is this Mr. Abel? And he says, yes. Yes, it is. And they confirm his last name. And I say, hey, do you know who we'll call her Maria? Do you know Maria so-and-so? He says, yes, I know Maria. They say, hey, were you driving in her van? He says, yes, I'm in Maria's van right now. He's assuming they're talking about his friend Maria, who is giving him a ride to his probation appointment in Grand Rapids. Gotta walk a little bit. And I say, aha, I got you. They show up. No. Later, next week or so, they pick him up. And they say that he stole Maria's van. Well, they weren't talking about his friend Maria. They were talking about an ex-girlfriend Maria, whose van he did not take. But they accused him of it, so they arrest him immediately. Of course. And they put him in the county jail. Now, of course, he calls me. And I go and starting to investigate, and he's like, I don't get it. I don't know what's going on. Well, I said, okay, well, if you didn't do it, honesty's the best policy. We're just going to go forward with that defense. I said, because I had seen the police report at this time, it looks like. And he has an alibi. His alibi is the probation officer. It couldn't have been me who took the van, because I was on my way with two other people to my probation appointment, where I showed up on time, and the probation officer, who works for the city, who works for the court, who works for the Department of Public Safety, verified that I was there and not stealing a van at the time. Well, we notify the prosecutor. The prosecutor never gets back to us. So we show up at the, at this point, it's not the arraignment, it's the, preliminary examination. So in criminal law in Michigan, when you're accused of a felony, like automobile theft, after you're arrested, after the arraignment, the other hearing you have very quickly, I think it's within 14 days, is a preliminary examination, where the government has to prove it's more likely than not a crime was committed and you did it. Of course, if you have an alibi, that's kind of hard to win. So what do? We show up, talk to the prosecutor, who's got his crack investigator on the case there. They're like, you say you have an alibi. I say, yeah, I do. It's your probation officer. No way he could have been stealing that car, because he was in a van with Maria. Oh no, but they didn't ask the last name. They just said Maria. See, whoever he was talking to didn't speak Spanish very well, so I don't think they knew the last name, or how to say last name, this detective when they called. Now, I don't like to accuse police officers of being racist, but let me tell you what happened. You're sitting there talking with the attorney, the prosecutor. Look, here's our alibi, it's rock solid. They said, well, no, the victim, his ex-girlfriend says he had a key. What do you mean he had a key? She says he had a key. He's the only one who had a key, other than her. I said, well, I doubt that. They've been broken up for months now. Why would he keep a key? Well, sure enough, he doesn't have a key, of course. I go and the victim's there. So I'm out there in the hall now. It is very ethical, even a responsibility, to talk to the victim if you can. They don't have to talk to you if they don't want to. They're a free person. But I speak Spanish. She speaks Spanish. People know me around here a little bit. So she talked to me. And of course, we're not in private, right? There's no confidentiality either way. I don't represent her. She knows that. Prosecutor also knows that. So the prosecutor sends out their, I don't know if it's their translator or social worker, who does speak Spanish, to sit next to her as I'm talking to her. So I'm very careful. I say, hey, nice to meet you. I don't think we've met before. I'm Attorney Betzold. Oh, okay, nice to meet you, Attorney Betzold. Alright, so I sit down next to her, introduce myself. You know, I'm Attorney Betzold, nice to meet you. She says, nice to meet you. And this is all in Spanish. I'm not translating. I'm not going to do anyone's job for them. But she speaks Spanish, I speak Spanish, like I said, so we keep going. So, you know, I don't represent you, of course. I'm representing Mr. Abel here today. Yes. I said, okay. So it sounds like somebody took your van. Yes. It was in my driveway that morning. And then, you know, I came back later and then it was gone. And the police found it in a high school parking lot just down the road. I said, oh, so they recovered your van? Yes. When? That same day. Okay. I said, well, the police think took it. And she goes, oh, I never said that. I never said he took it. In fact, I don't even think he took it. That wouldn't make any sense. Why would he take it? I was like, well, I don't know. But that's what the police think. So, after that fun little conversation, we head back to talk to the prosecutor. And I say, hey, look, your person here was sitting right next to her when she said all this. I'm guaranteeing you that she will testify to that. I didn't have to coach her or anything. She volunteered. She didn't think he did it. They take some time amongst themselves to consider the matter. And of course, this is all right before the hearing, right? Preliminary examination. The prelim, as they call it. And so they call me back into a little conference room there. So we're getting ready to go in front of the judge. I'm like, all right, what are we doing? We're ready to go. He was like, look, here's the deal. We still think he had something to do with it. We just know it. Okay, now this isn't, like I expressed previously, I am not the type of person who will be like, the police are racist. No. Typically, that's not what I've encountered. But on this occasion, I do have to wonder why two Americans, one white, the other not, are both trying to gang up on my client and say that they're sure he's involved somehow, so he should plead to at least a misdemeanor, a theft misdemeanor, some sort. Of course, I simply tell him, look, here's the deal. I have to go tell him about this offer. But I'm also going to tell him he's a fool if he takes this offer. Okay, so bye. Again, they admit no evidence, but they think somehow he's involved. Which doesn't make sense, because he was on a probation appointment with a rock-solid, gold and gilded alibi. Unbelievable. So anyways, they're like, well, let's go for it. I'm like, great, let's do it. Let's go in front of the judge right now. So we're called, show up to the table, defense table there, prosecutors at the prosecutor's table, the officer of the law, detective, with no evidence, is sitting right next to him. And the judge is like, okay, what's the deal here? Are we going forward with this? I said, yes, Your Honor, we are ready to proceed. Okay, judge says, is there anything else we need to do before we get started? And the prosecutor stands up, all sheepishly. Well, the thing is, Your Honor, it looks like they have an alibi that I didn't know about until just this morning. They didn't tell us about it earlier, which is a lie. We advised them of it days prior, as soon as we knew, of course. I don't want my guy sitting in jail any longer than he needs to. So, with that alibi in mind, at this time, Your Honor, we're just going to dismiss, because we actually we didn't have time to take into consideration that alibi, blah, blah, blah. So, tail between his legs, waddles off, right? I don't say anything else to him. I just know that from that point forward, when dealing with the Grand Rapids Police Department, I have to be very careful with their detectives who go and arrest people based on their feelings and are refusing, nay, not just refusing, they're incapable, apparently at least this detective, whose name I will not give, but incapable of doing their job and finding the people who are really guilty, and instead want to pin it on a poor immigrant who's now back in the system, who, despite his best efforts over the years, his best efforts, has tried to stay as far away from law enforcement as possible. So, why did the police ever think he had something to do with it? According to the police report, they asked, well, does anybody else have a key? Did anyone else ever have a key? And what she said was, the victim, well, I think my ex-boyfriend used to have a key. I don't know if he still does, but that's the only thing I know. So they took that and turned it into, in their police report, the only other person who has a key is her ex-boyfriend. A bit of a stretch, and a bit of an ethical dilemma, if you're worried about being honest. So, let me just check the video here. Okay. So what happens? For all of our effort and all of our glory in the district court that day, we got that case dismissed. He gets picked up. He gets picked up? Was he in jail? Yeah. He was in jail that time too. So he gets sent back to immigration court. And what happens in immigration court? Well, it's still unclear to me how this is just, and I think it's not. And I think next time, well, there'll never be a next time because I'm not taking 10 cases now. But if somebody else runs into this situation, I highly encourage you to consider some sort of federal suit based on the fact that ICE, the prosecutor, can unilaterally revoke bond in the immigration court system. They revoke the bond, and they can say you either violated it or you didn't violate it, and they can keep it, or they can say, well, you didn't violate it, but we're revoking it. And then you got to go back to immigration court. And then, even though it sounds silly, you go and ask for bond again. And the same judge, and even the judge, like in this case, well, let's just say she didn't like this case. But I was there, and I'll tell you what, if you have, it doesn't even have to be great, if you have a decent reputation, because with some of these judges, it just doesn't matter. Immigration judges, anyway. But even with one of the judges, who was, in my opinion, the second hardest judge in our system, saw that I was there. I was presenting a lot of evidence, presenting testimony. I was presenting everything that you could think of to show that this guy is a good guy, and he was totally innocent of the charges brought before him. Judge grants bond. Now, there's another funny story that maybe someday I'll share that goes along with that hearing. Not the time today. But needless to say, there was a whole hullabaloo just getting into the court that day. Anyways, I made it to court. We made our arguments. You know, on paper and in person, my guy looked totally innocent. He's consistent. And so the judge's like, well, all right, I don't know what happens with the bond you paid before. The judge said that. She doesn't know what happens with that bond. It was something like a $10,000 bond, too. She's like, you got to deal with ICE on that. I don't know anything about that. But I'll grant you another bond. Grant you another $10,000 bond. Again, I don't know if they'll just roll that one over or if you got to come up with more money. But you got to come up with it within 14 days. Otherwise, we're going to go forward on your case already. So he looks down and he says, I don't know, it's a lot of money. Because she had asked, do you have the funds or does your family have funds to pay it? He did have a family support system. So he looks down and says, I don't know, that's a lot of money. So I interrupt, and this is very out of character for me to do, especially with this judge, but I was reading the room and it felt like I could get away with it. I interrupt, and in English, because he speaks a little English too, I say, stop! Just say thank you! We'll come up with it. I'm like, that's not for you to say. I'm like, just say thank you, judge. Thank you. And he looks all startled and surprised and immediately is compliant with my commandments. And the judge, who loves a brawl, she loves a brawl, right? Jumps right in, on cue, of course. Sir, why are you saying that? Sir, you just got a bond. I could deny your bond. I could do this, and you could do this right away. And I sort of knew that's what she liked, so I sort of expected her to do that. But in the end, again, she had already granted it, and I think to go backwards on that immediately like that may not have survived appeal. So anyways, he gets bond number 2. But she puts a condition on there that says you may not drive any motor vehicle while on bond. Not like unless you have a license, it was no driving period. Which is funny. After some research, it looks like it wasn't forcible. So she did it. He had to not drive for a while. But, again, out of bond, free from those criminal charges, right? A glorious, victorious day by all accounts. Well, some months later, I get a call. Attorney Betzold needs to see you. Cool. Comes in. I'm all smiles, just reminiscing about the good times we had against the Grand Rapids City Prosecutor and the Grand Rapids Police Department against the immigration judge for the second time to get bond. Now, he's like, well, something happened. Look, I met up with this old friend of mine. You know, another guy. Met him at the store. I was like, hey, what are you doing in town? He's like, hey, what are you doing in town? I was like, well, living with my girlfriend. He says, well, let's have some drinks. Let's have some beers tonight. So, having some beers, right? And, as it might happen, his friend said, let's go for a drive. And of course, they're both smashed, so this seems like a reasonable and excellent idea. So they take the girlfriend's car and the friend starts driving. Well, they probably go a total of 4 miles, where they live is sort of in the countryside. They're on a major roadway, hitting signs, hitting guardrails, smash the hell out of this car. And the friend, he takes off, right? Parks, side of the road, gets the hell out of there. My client's asleep, like passed out. And still wearing his seatbelt. On the passenger side, someone had seen this go down. They called the police. The police show up to the vehicle, which is stopped on the side of the road with our good buddy Abel, strapped into the passenger seat, snoozing, charging. No, I think when the police arrived, he woke up and was charging his phone, which had died. And let's review. He's an immigrant, on the side of the road in very suspicious looking circumstances. In a smashed up vehicle, multiple windows broken, dented to hell, street signs destroyed, and he's alone. His buddy disappeared. Well, what do you think happens? Yes, you're right. He gets charged. He gets charged with, like, auto theft, destruction of property, destruction of public property, fleeing the scene of an accident, because there were multiple impacts with road signs and guardrails, etc. But they're like, you know what, sober up. We'll just send you the paperwork. Here's a ticket, we'll send you the paperwork. How different is that than inaccurate information, a non-confession, you get arrested and then they want you to plead guilty anyway, right? Good luck, Grand Rapids. No wonder you've had protests, because I only saw a tiny glimpse of this stuff. I'm sure that's not a only situation. I mean, there was even that, it was Grand Rapids where you had the police chief who's watching TV, sees a guy with a Latino name, looks Latino. He had broken into a secure area or something of a hospital. He had mental issues. He's a U.S. citizen, Marine, and they go and arrest him and call ICE on him. Talk about not doing their job. This is what was Grand Rapids. Now, fortunately, the trees falling down here. I don't know if I can make it through here. Let me pause this. No, we'll keep it rolling. Like a Bob the Builder situation here. Let's just give a wave. Morning! There we go. Talk about being in one of the nicest areas of the country. Someone could have been like, hey man, you're not allowed to be back here. We're doing work, it's dangerous. No, here it's like, good morning, want a beer? Got some extra coffee down here if you want. Alright, so now, we don't just want to dump on Grand Rapids today, right? It is a beautiful city. There are good people there. And let me talk about the new police captain, who I will only have good things to say about. Officer, or Captain, Eric Payne. Yeah, so I think that, isn't that the same? No, that's Captain Holt. Alright, so Captain Payne, right? Awesome guy, African American, works with the immigration community, helps immigrants by agreeing to sign U visa certifications. One of the good guys. Okay, so recently received that job as chief of police there. We expect good things. All right, so let's go back to the other county where my guy was a little smashed still. So the police were like, here's your ticket. We're gonna send you some paperwork in the mail, just show up to your hearing. He's like, cool. Goes home, sleeps it off, wakes up, trying to piece together what happened that night. So he's piecing together what had happened that night. And of course needs some help with that. So I'm like, look, dude, it looks really suspicious, because what the police are saying is that you're lying and that you were the one driving and that you were the one who took your girlfriend's car. You were the one who smashed it into all these things, and this other person never existed. So let's talk about your friend. And we're talking about things like, I don't remember specifically, right? So nothing I say here can be quoted exactly, and I have a tendency to embellish somewhat, but it makes for a good story. So he's asking, I'm asking, all right, what's his name? Well, I only know him by his nickname. We'll call him Choo Choo for now. I said, okay, that's no good. Can't look him up anywhere. Where's he from? I don't know. He was working at a farm somewhere, and he was just in town, and we met at the store. I'm like, cool, what store? He tells me the store. I'm like, do they have any video surveillance? He says, I don't know. I said, all right, go look into that. Go find out if they have a video camera. Turns out they did not. Okay, so no chance of that proving a mystery man. I said, well, who else knows him? Well, some other people know him. I said, who else saw him that night? Nobody, because when we got home, my girlfriend was already asleep because she has to work early. So it was just him and me. It's like, did anybody see you together there? No. Like, okay. Well, where do we get a hold of this guy? I don't know. He said it's just a really chance encounter. So there's like no point of connection to this guy that we'd be able to get a hold of. I'm like, well, do you know what farm he was working at? No, I know it was somewhere in Florida. Shoot. A lot of farms in Florida where they employ migrants to do, tomato picking or orange picking or whatever. Harvesting. I don't know. Is picking the right word? Harvesting. Oranges. Tomatoes and whatnot. Strawberries. Well, that's a no-go. So we only have his word to go on for the whole existence of this guy, which is not the best situation to be in when you need to mount a criminal defense against a felony charge with some pretty serious evidence against you. So we go on to something else. All right, well, let's see here. Let's grab that police report and let's see what it says. Now, I just arrived at one of the waypoints here. I was here before. I didn't bring my drone. I didn't bring my GoPro. I just want to pull up here so you can see it. See how beautiful this little place is. Oh, man. Just a little bit. Let's stop right here. I don't know if you can see it yet. I don't know if I want to sleep it. Get my bike here like that. All right. So I didn't have my GoPro with me last time, but I want you to see how nice this looks here. We are at a very special spot here in the woods. And it just looks so nice. You gotta see it in 4K like this. So here we go. On a beautiful morning like this, what a treat. Riding the woods, talking about some fun cases we've handled. Look at that. Going straight down there. This beautiful, beautiful view. I hope I don't drop my phone. Look at that. The sun is just waking up. This reminds me of a Horseshoe Bend over in the Grand Canyon. Hope I don't do anything silly and slip here. It'd be awful. Have it all on GoPro too. Alright, this is like the foremost lookout position here. Look at that river. It's a beautiful river. Right here, some pine tree. Someone should really cut down this pine tree. It's really in the way. Probably kind of hard to get to. I think you would need like rope and a chainsaw. Knock that sucker over, blocking the view. All right. That's good. We're going to go back up here. Sort of see where we came in there. We're in this nice little grove of trees here all by myself, and someone pointed this out the other day. They have chained this very nice picnic table to this very tiny tree. Apparently people were stealing them. This here, apparently someone had stolen this grill before, or a grill like it. So they cemented it in even harder. And if I'm not mistaken, these initials here are of my uncle. Look at that. It's hilarious. And it's so funny, the way people work together out here is, everybody knows my uncle apparently. And so they were talking about, well, you know, someone stole the grill up there. He talked to someone at the county. They're like, well, tell you what, just go buy a grill. Here's some money. Go buy a grill. Go get some cement. Take your wheelers up there. Install it. And we'll be good. Not paying for his time, right? Just like, here, buddy, go take this and do it and fix it. And they did. So there's his initials for all time to be engraved in the cement. And here's a grill where we can come and bring some food. All right, I'm going to tuck the laces back in my shoe. We're going to head out of this place. So pretty here, but we've flown the drone. We've had some fun. Now it's time to do some good old-fashioned exploring. All right, so, of course, my mom and dad sort of know the trails around here. I don't, because I don't live here. They don't have a four-wheeler. But they got a bicycle now, so we can try this out. And let's see, where do we leave off with our story about our good friend Abel? Well, let's see, where did we leave off? Yeah. Okay, so he was in some very suspicious circumstances, but an innocent man. And here's why. What we had to do, we took a look at the police report, and we had to figure out what it was that would be able to prove his innocence. And obviously his friend, who could have been an alibi, was not working out. Look, there's a helicopter. It's like a news helicopter of some sort. Who knows what they're doing? I really can't see myself. I don't know if this is recording a good angle of my face or not. Yeah, it's okay. Alright, let's just check the angle of the GoPro again. Keep going here. Good as we can hope for. So, in the police report, there was mention of the location of shards of glass. There was mention of where there was no shards of glass. Shards of glass, of course, being from the broken windows in the car from the engine. So, after a close reading of that, it actually looked like there was a legitimate claim to the physical evidence on the scene being able to validate the story of being a story which could free him from the confines of prison. No, he wasn't detained, like I said. So, what did? We actually had to make a few calls to some friends, and find a crash scene investigator, someone who could act as an expert witness to exculpate. Mud. So we were going to need to rely on the physical evidence to prove that my client is not guilty of driving, actually sitting in that seat. So we hired, after talking to some other defense attorneys in the area, we hired a crash scene expert who had worked for a few different police departments over the years, and that was his thing. That was his specialty on the force, is just investigating crash scenes. And so he looked at the police report, because that's all that was left. The car had long been towed and removed. And we were able to get a report from him where he said, look, there's no way that this proves that he was in the driver's seat. In fact, there's evidence to suggest that he was not in the driver's seat, just based on where shards of glass had landed, being on top, not under, that sort of thing. So we got a report from him, brought that to the prosecutor, and said, look, this is what happened. And the prosecutor said, well, yeah, but this could still go either way, which is true. And that's, what our investigator told us as well. It's not real hard evidence one way or the other. But remember, the immigration judge had already said no driving. So if we pled to something where he was driving, that would be an obvious problem. Well, in Michigan, there is a misdemeanor. Actually, is it even a misdemeanor? Yeah, it is a misdemeanor. But it's a non-point offense, so you don't get tickets on your license for it. And it is allowing an unlicensed operator to drive a car. So if you allow somebody else to drive your car, or a car, or whatever car, I think it's got to be you allowing them to drive your car, and you know that they're not licensed, etc., then what happens is that's a problem, right? You can't be allowing unlicensed people to drive. So anyways, this is one of those misdemeanors where in Michigan, if someone gets arrested and charged with driving on a suspended license and there's some mitigating factors, a lot of times the prosecutor will let you plead to allowing an unlicensed operator to drive your car, which has some benefits. One benefit is it doesn't get reported to the Secretary of State, so it doesn't affect, like if you're already on a suspended license, typically if you get caught driving without a license again, then you got to wait another year of suspension. Well, in this case, that doesn't happen, so you can still go forward and get your license when you otherwise qualify for it. So, took this to the client, to our friend Mr. Abel, explained, look, here's the deal. We could go to trial or we could settle. At trial, anything could happen. If it goes south, which it might, it's because, again, these are some suspicious circumstances. If a jury believes the prosecutor, which they probably will, then, well, you're going to end up detained. ICE is going to come pick you up. They're going to violate you on your bond for the second time, and I guarantee you the judge in immigration court is not going to smile favorably upon these circumstances, and you're going to be in a load of problems. So we took the deal, a non-point offense. Didn't affect anything. It was not an admission that he was driving, which is exactly what we needed, because that would cause problems later with the immigration court judge too. All right, so escaped another encounter with immigration, which is always a victory. Now let's talk about something else. When we're dealing with our friend Mr. Abel here, I don't know if I'd mentioned this earlier, but he actually had a situation where he was the victim of domestic violence. I won't go into details, because any situation involving domestic violence tends to be sensitive one way or another. Needless to say, he was the victim of an attack and qualified as domestic violence. So one of the first things we did when he was detained is I gotta pull my straps together here. Prepared a U-Visa certification request. Got the certification approved by the police department, thank goodness. And then we filed his U-Visa application with USCIS. So the whole time all this stuff is going on, months, years are going by, and his U visa request is pending. So that, had already been in the works, right? Anyone who practices immigration law knows that, especially recently, cases have been getting more and more difficult because the government keeps making it more difficult of a burden of evidence to meet. So, for example, if you want asylum, they keep changing what's allowed as a particular social group, and many things that used to be considered legitimate are no longer considered legitimate. We're getting a bunch of judges that are making it more difficult as well. And there's some long-standing forms of relief that we've had called cancellation of removal, and you need to prove an extreme and unusual hardship to a U.S. citizen qualifying relative, so spouse, parent, or child, if you're to be removed from the United States. And that burden's always been high. So pretty much no matter the situation, and like I said before, it's an uphill battle winning relief in immigration court. So the U visa is something that if you qualify for, you definitely want to file to sort of have that as another option should it become necessary. So in this case, it's a good thing we did that, because what ended up happening is, with cases dragging on for years and years at a time, our client actually received his the waitlist decision, so he got his work permit, and was even then approved for his U visa. And so when that happens, what do? You've got a U visa, which if you already have a removal order, it will legally, automatically eliminate it, right? ICE doesn't know about it all the time, so you need to inform them. It's a good idea to do that, to get it straightened up at court. So you might want to file a motion to reopen and terminate just based on that. And when you have a pending case, one thing you want to do is just file a motion to terminate based on your client now having a visa. Because the U visa is not just a temporary status. Well, I mean, it doesn't last forever, but it is a visa status, and when you have a visa status, you're not removable from the United States. So we ended up getting that, and as far as we know, living happily ever after. It's one of those success stories that sort of takes a long time. The whole process took years and years. I think it's probably, I don't want to give exact dates, but I think probably the whole course of the process was 5 or 6 years. So that's a good success story to have. Now, I'm thinking if there was something else we were going to talk about had to do with that case. Maybe not. Maybe that was it. Trying to avoid some puddles here. Spitting up mud into my face. Boy, what a beautiful morning. Just beautiful morning. Uphill this morning. Now it looks like we're going downhill. I don't even know where this road goes. But as long as I stay to a road, I should be able to find myself later. And I've got a Rice Krispie treat and a granola bar in my backpack. So it should be good to go. Tell you what, if any of you are listening and you're like, you know what, I need a good place to get away in the summer, or if you like snowmobiling and four-wheeling, I need a place to get away to in the winter. I've been telling my folks that they need to Airbnb one of their cabins here. And if you're interested, you should definitely look into this. It's just peaceful trails you can go on. Get some exercises. Actually, a surprisingly large amount of sights to see in the area here too. And I don't think I've said exactly where we are, but you know that we are grateful to the Gogibic Range Trail Authority. You can just Google that to find out where we're at. But look how beautiful it is. The temperature this morning is nice. It's probably about 55, 60 degrees. The other day it was actually warmer in the morning. All summer long here it's been like 80s and 90 degrees. Just amazing, amazing summer. occasional rain, but not much. Just super nice. There's deers, some turkeys. We've seen, I don't know if it's a grouse or it's sort of a chicken-looking thing. Didn't have like super pretty feathers on it. It looked kind of regular, but still a fun little animal to see on the road. Oh man. All right, well, let's talk about a couple other things. Let's talk a little bit about managing your law firm. So, you want to be able to manage your law firm so you don't have to do anything that you don't need to do, right? You don't want to paginate documents by hand. You shouldn't. You don't want to spend hours and hours in the office. You shouldn't. You don't want to be the one who answers all of your phone calls. You shouldn't. You don't want to be the person who has to stay late every night, lose sleep over cases, and well, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. You gotta make sure you have enough systems in place so that the only stuff the attorney is doing is the stuff that the attorney himself or herself has to do. Look at this, we got some logging operations here. Okay, quick side note. I was kind of hoping we would go by some more logging here. Check this out. I know you've probably seen the signs on the video here about logging. Logging up here in northern Michigan is a really good thing, actually. You get all these forests, they start to get dense, they start to grow, and here's what's interesting about trees, right? People talk about having too much CO2 in the air, okay? And we know that CO2 is carbon dioxide. So one carbon atom, two oxygen atoms get together and they make carbon dioxide. It's a gas, of course, and people say it's a greenhouse gas, which once there's enough of it in the atmosphere is going to cause global warming. Sea levels will rise, and we're all going to have to, rush inland. And of course, if you live in Miami, sometimes you get water in Miami, but that's more based on tides and whatnot. This last year or two, we've had just record high levels of water in the Great Lakes. Again, I don't think that's attributable really to global warming. That's just a cycle, right? Over the last couple decades, you see the lake levels go up, and then they go down, and then they go up, and it's a water cycle that repeats itself. But if you are concerned about high levels of CO2 in the atmosphere, trees are your solution. Trees take that CO2 and they store the carbon in wood that the tree is made out of. So you can see all these nice sized logs here. That is all carbon that was in the atmosphere. So these trees are probably, if you count the rings, be anywhere like 20 years old, maybe a little more. But they literally suck the CO2 out of the air. They trap it in wood which we use for either burning, for fuel. That's much less the case now. Wood's more an industrial product for paper, for lumber, for building houses, things like that. So, like I said, a responsible logging operation is actually very good for the environment. And people always talk about, if we just had a machine that would pull the CO2 out of the air. If we just had a machine that would pull CO2 out of the air, then we could just run those all day long. And what I'm telling you is, look at all these wonderful natural machines. They run all day long. They even reproduce themselves in areas like this. Stuff starts to grow even after you cut them down to harvest the lumber. And 24 hours a day, these wonderful machines are pulling CO2 out of the air. And you actually, when there's more CO2 in the air, you can see booms in the flora. The flora being plants and trees and whatnot. Because they love CO2. They trap it for us. So, fun little fact up here in the north about logging. right, now we were talking about managing your practice. Let's talk about practice management. As an attorney, you went to law school, you invested a lot of money, you invested a lot of time in your career. Now, there are attorneys who love the solo life, and they just want to do all the work themselves, provide, that one-on-one special connection to their clients, and that's fantastic, okay? Still, makes it even more important for having the tools and processes in place so you're not spinning your wheels, so you're not wasting time. So we have two companies that help attorneys do this. The first is Prima.Law. And at Prima.Law, like this green thing over here. At Prima.Law, hold on, you got to take a look at that. Look at this, kind of a swampy green pollen on top of the water there. Yeah, if you're not careful, you might wander right into it. Oh man, I start talking about like companies and work and practice management, and then I think it's really important to sort of maintain balance in your life, which is why I'm doing this. It's why I got this bike, why I'm up in the far reaches of the northern United States, in the woods, on a logging road, because got to get some exercise. You got to maintain that balance. You can't just be in the office all day long. You'll start to resent, start to hate, be angry. And there's always enough to be angry at, no matter in the practice of immigration anyway, right? You can be upset with USCIS because they denied your client's case even though they shouldn't have. Now you got to go to federal court. You can be upset with the ICE. You can be upset with the president. You can be upset with the attorney general. But at some point, you gotta let it go. Just do the best you can. Focus on your own peace of mind. Attorneys across the board, this is a career when you're an attorney, especially in the practice of law, right? If you're like in corporate compliance and you've got a nice corporate job, and a lot of times you don't have the same stresses that the rest of us do. You don't have to worry about the constant flow of clients. You don't have to worry about running your business, keep the advertising coming in. You don't have to worry about a lot of things that when you own your own business in a small or mid-sized firm, or even a large firm, you do have to keep in the front of your mind. So attorneys have like one of the highest rates of burnout, I think. We might be right behind dentists, which to me doesn't make any sense. Love my dentist. He does a great job. And but burnout among attorneys is a huge issue. So you got to maintain balance, and you can't do that if you're constantly in the office working with your mind on that all the time. Now, yeah, you got to be dedicated. You got to zealously represent your clients. But how are you going to do that if you're burned out? Can't work it all. All right, what do we got here? I found a sign talking about maintaining balance. Let's figure out what this is. It says, all right, welcome to Michigan. All right, so if you are wondering where we're at, here's a clue. We're near the Maplewood Steakhouse. Food and drink, 906-932-2610. Now, welcome to Michigan. Trail conditions and area information, blah, blah, blah. Please remember, trail permits required. I have a driver's license. Stay on the marked trails. Yep. Obey all posted speed limits. Okay. Do not exceed 25 miles per hour in town. Okay. Do not drink and drive. Thank you for your cooperation. Enjoy our trails. Oh, look, here we go. Trails maintained by Gogibic Range Trail Authority. westernup.info. Okay. That's cool. I've not been on this road yet, but I did find this road. This is welcome to Michigan. We must be, I think I know where we are. It's going to be a real bummer if we have to take the street back, but we can do that too. Could be fun. Get some exercise on the road. With this fat bike, these tires are like friendliest on pavement. So let's see. I left my phone. Actually recording on my extra Android here. I think we go right. We'll just go right for a while and see where we end up. Logging ahead. Oh, I don't know. I kind of want to go back. But I would get lost more for sure. We'll just take the road. Here we go. Down in the lower gears. So, yeah, burnout's a real thing. And I think, at least among immigration attorneys, it's even higher because you're dealing with all sorts of things. You're dealing with secondary trauma. You're dealing with, personal issues that come up just in the course of anyone's life, illness, whatnot. But on top of that, then you've got your clients who are literally, in many situations, fighting for their lives. They want to be sure that they can make it home safely without... Check this out. I don't know how far down I have to go here. But you're dealing with people who have been escaping persecution. They've been escaping situations, especially women from Central and South America. It's like, well, mostly Central America, right? Northern Triangle, where they've just been treated like garbage for hundreds of years. And even worse in recent years, where they may want a divorce but they can't get one. Back here with the kids. Let's see where this trail takes us. Let's see this for a second. Let's see. Shady territory here. Morning. I hear there's waterfalls around here. Yeah?
That's just a rumor.
Is it? Good morning for a ride, huh? Let's see this. Let's see what we can see. Okay, there's a lake. I don't know if I want to go down there on the right. Looks like the way to get to the beach is over here. Another lake. And a little bit of a vista here. That's nice. The good old Lake Superior. Alright, that's not what we're here for. I thought it was some waterfalls we could see. Let's turn around again. Oh look, there's another trail that goes this way. I wonder if we dare walk through here, I guess. This is the kind of area where I think if you walk too far you could fall right off of something. I think coming up here would be such a pain, and I don't see any water down there. Just the lake. Alright, we'll explore this one another time. We want to maintain balance, not go totally crazy. Back up here. Didn't see any waterfalls. Just a ravine. Look kind of empty. Over there, yeah, I think I gotta go down this steep one here.
Good luck.
I think I'm gonna pass on this for today. It's really steep. Probably just take me down to the beach. gander. Oh man, look how steep that is. All right. Ooh. Can we go down it? Push it up. I don't even want to go down the bike. I'll just walk it. I think the bike's not that heavy. It's got a little handrail here too. I just see the beach. Might be kind of a cool spot for hanging out. Let's look at the time. I don't know if I have time for this right now. Looks beautiful. We'll come back. We'll come back and check it out. I'm just gonna need to keep moving for now. I don't know if I could make it uphill. This steep is like a 30% grade or more.
Well, what's down there?
Looks like just a beach.
That's it.
Yeah. I've been here before.
Your old fat guys don't like walking up hills like that.
It's a steep hill. I didn't go all the way down either. There is a trail somewhere. It must be, I think, from the other little parking lot there. Because I've been here before. My mom took me, and there are some waterfalls, but they're upstream a little bit steep. But
That's up where the first parking lot, or the hydro.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. They said they would go cliff jumping there.
Oh.
I avoid that. Yeah. I can get through that. All right. A bit of a detour there. Fun sight to see. All right, so we had a fun little sight to see there. So let's get back to it. As an attorney, you should do only what you have to do. Legal strategy, show up at court, maybe do those jail visits. Sometimes you can send a paralegal for that. When you can't, you gotta do that yourself. Review and sign your applications. Go out for your clients. Those are the things you have to do yourself. Calling clients to gather documents. You don't have to do that. Following up, not your job. It's your paralegal's job. Filling the forms initially. You can have a paralegal do that too. In fact, check your local jurisdictions, but in Michigan anyway, there have been ethics decisions talking about how as long as the paralegal is supervised, they can do pretty much anything for the attorney. As long as they're under his or her supervision, under the attorney's supervision. So, look for those efficiencies. Now, hiring someone can be a bear, no pun intended. There's bears up here. And if you're an immigration attorney, it can be doubly difficult because you're looking for someone who already has some idea about immigration, knows how to deal with clients, already speaks hopefully Spanish, whatever language you're working with, if it's something other than English. And then there's the whole process of hiring, training, paying them their wages, paying withholdings, HR compliance, and depending on your state or locality, it can be very, very difficult, or just costly. So, visit us over at Bella.legal. We have trained immigration paralegals who work remotely. Can help you simplify your practice. Speak English and Spanish. Very professional. Work remotely for your firm. And they can really help accelerate your practice. So, Bella.legal. Come check us out. We have a set number of hours per week you can subscribe to. Or you can also choose to use case-by-case service, which, again, if you're just getting through a sludge of cases, you might need a case-by-case service for now. Help you clear that backlog of cases, get everything ready to submit. Coming up on a tractor here, I think we're going to lose audio quality for a second. Friendly. We passed the tractor. We've got velocity speeds. Oh, what road is this? That's a road. I'll do that another day. We're just going to go up to this other road I'm familiar with. Alright, our other company, Prima.Law, formerly known as Prima Facie. We have been catering to immigration attorneys and their case management needs. We have Lisa bulletin tracking, we have all the immigration forms. We have built the best form filling system. And I say it unashamedly, it is the best because it will autofill your forms from the database. So data you've collected either through questionnaires or from just entering into the database or through the client portal, but also it will reverse autofill. So if you're like, forget it, I'm just gonna go straight to the forms and start typing in information, no problem. Do it. Assign who fills each role on the contact or as a contact. So for example, I-130, who's the petitioner, who's the beneficiary. Assign those contacts, open the form, start typing in data, make sure the reverse autofill toggle is turned on. And when you enter information into that, you are going to be populating your database. So when you go to fill the next form and you click autofill, you only have to fill in the blanks, the stuff that you haven't typed in yet. Name, address, phone number, alien number, USCIS number, what you may. Those are already going to be in there, all mapped to the right place. We've been doing this 4 years, so our mapping is great. If we ever encounter an issue with it, we take it under consideration right away, we fix it, if it needs to be fixed. Now, that's the tricky part. There's other companies that have tried this, the autofilling and reverse autofilling, and they failed. And the story is the same from attorneys. The autofill was a mess. It populated to the wrong place. Well, not the case with Prima. With Prima, we've taken the time, we have the expertise to make it all go to the right place. And we continually update the forms. We continually will update our autofill. So over the last 4 years, we've been perfecting our autofill mapping features. That's why it's the best. Now, other systems will say, well, we have that too. No. Look closely. You need to be able to reverse autofill everything. Addresses. Mailing address, distinct from a physical address, distinct from a foreign address. distinct from a previous address of a potentially unlimited number of items. You need to know that it will autofill all of those things. Educational history, where you may have an unknown or undetermined number of prior schools. Work history, same deal. You may have one previous job, you may have 10. You need those to autofill in the right place. That's what we do. We took, in our development cycle, we took a little extra time on that to make sure that it's the best. Our forms are smooth. It doesn't rely on Adobe to work. It's all in your browser, in our viewer. Smooth scrolling. Easy to share these forms with your client. So, like I said, it's the best form filling solution. And on top of that, we have the most customizable package assembly feature. Other people may say, well, we can assemble it into a package too, but pay attention. What we can do is take all of your forms that you filled in Prima. We take all of your exhibits, so documents you've uploaded maybe to your checklist or to the case profile. We can take your notes. We can take all your addendums, which you have granular control over, so you can say, hey, generate my addendums. Hey, I need to add something here. I want to format this like that, and I want it to add over here. You can do that. It's totally customizable. Other systems do not have it. We're the only ones right now. They may be scrambling to join the pack here, but we win. So, package assembly feature is fantastic. You assemble all of those into one PDF, and as you're building the package, you have the options to build. You can add exhibit sheets, so numbered exhibit sheets between every item. You can choose where those sheets should start. You can add information in the footer, so you have your A number in the footer. You can type that person's name in there. Super useful for immigration court, and the most useful thing for immigration court is the table of contents we generate automatically, complete with page numbering. So remember how you have to use to get all your documents in, get it in one PDF, apply the base numbering, print it again. Well, those days are behind us, my friends. And look, I practice in immigration court, still have some open cases. Been doing this for years, so I know that one of the big issues is having those page numbers right in your table of contents. So once your client finally brings everything to you last minute, and it's the night before the hearing where you're going to have to beg the judge anyway to let you use exhibits that you didn't have because your client didn't bring them beforehand. When you're doing that, you mess up a page number, something looks wrong, you got to go through and redo it. No. With our package assembly feature, once you get everything ordered and in place, it acts like a template. So if you notice, oh, I forgot to add this thing, you just click edit, go in there, add the new item, make the changes, drag, drop, regenerate your table of contents. Voila. You get to save it as a PDF and print it and have it ready for the court. Ooh, a little uphill here. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is, between all the collaboration tools we have in Prima, tools for sending the checklist to your client so they can upload directly to it, the documents and exhibits you're going to need in your case, the form autofilling and reverse autofilling, and let's not forget package assembly. With all those things, you have time to do stuff like this. Enjoy nature, get outdoors, get some exercise. You know, part of fighting burnout is just getting over the hump of, do I really have to do it? Should I really do it? I don't want to do it. I don't want to go do this. I got work to do. I got these other things I need to do. I gotta put that voice aside. Go out, take care of yourself, get some exercise. And it in itself is work, right? But it's the type of work where when you're done, Got that blood flow. Got some endorphins pumping. It really alleviates stress. I don't think there's a... Alright. And I know a lot of you are probably on antidepressants. I get it. You need it. Why not add some exercise to the mix as well? Who knows? Can't hurt anything, right? For me, helps a lot. Just being able to maintain that positive outlook. How pretty is this morning? I don't really have much else to say right now. I guess if you want to tune out, you can tune out. Or you can keep watching the view here. It's pretty nice. I'll probably have to post the GoPro video separately for people who really just don't like my voice. That's okay. I still need to be able to have a good view of this bike ride. Been at this over an hour now. All over the place. Trails, uphill, rocks, beautiful lookout, downhill trails. Do some mud on the road. Back on a gravel road again. Super nice. I'm not sure there's anything else on my mind even. I think my mind is now cleared. What can we talk about? You know, being up here, and you know, when you go to town, everybody wears a mask, which is fine. But when you're out here, it's almost like none of that's going on. It just completely leaves your mind clear. You think clearly. Nice thing about this county is I think there's been 10 total cases. They say the number has gone up a little bit, but still, a little up from 10 is like nothing. Still take precautions, but you can be outside like this, get some exercise. Have a good old time. Here we are again. I just figured I'd start recording again just in case we're going to do something interesting. We've really talked about everything: criminal defense, immigration court, visas, prosecutorial misconduct, police misconduct, global warming, nature's machines that constantly and consistently suck the CO2 out of the air, give us pure life-breathing oxygen. We drove here, we saw a turtle on this road. Right about here. That's it now. Whee! No, not true, not the last. But it is a hill. That part is true. Okay, you know what? My legs are on fire. It's not a big hill by any means. But my goodness, I've been talking this whole time. Probably killing my battery now. Probably on the phone and the GoPro. Alright. Let's put shoelaces back in. See if we can maybe sneak up on a deer or something. We're pretty tame around here. take so much for granted in a car. This road is nothing in a car. We're making it. There's a MP3 called Psychological Warfare by a guy named Jocko Willinks, maybe? Jocko. Jocko, anyway. Apparently, he talks in your ear about getting over that little voice. You need to stop. You need to give up. It's pointless. Like he's there saying, okay. Something like that. I think I need to download that. Sometimes just that psychological fight you have to keep going. When you think you can't anymore. Look, we must have gone 10 miles today. I know for sure.